Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We're back off the back of Game Week 4 for our Monday night international break special. We'll still be streaming on Monday and Friday again before Game Week 5. We wouldn't leave you in the international break. Joined by regular co-host today, Mr. Dean James. Dean, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, not a bad game week for me, actually.
You stormed it.
Ended it pretty well. Yeah, got to 84 points in the end. So that was good. And do you know what? I'm determined to not chop and change my team this season. I really am sticking to this. Like, even when players are struggling, I think I'm going to stick with them, because if the team looks based as a good team, then I'm going to score points. Like Watkins at the moment, like all logic tells me I should be ditching him. But my new logic tells me as soon as I ditch him, he's going to score, because there's no way that Watkins can keep not scoring. So, but then on the flip of that, I'm like, well, why don't I just get Alvarez, though? Because he would be perfect to have in my side as well, because I haven't got a third Man City asset.
You can get to him easily, can't you?
I can get to him easily. You're still
going to use your transfers, but it might be transfers are on injuries or just a real player proper out of form, but you're not going to be knee-jerking, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not going to knee-jerk exactly that. Yeah, so I'll still make changes, but like, rather than chopping and changing every single week and worrying about form, like even with like Enzo, like there's a temptation for me to get rid of him because he's not getting points. But I'm watching the games. I'm like, well, he's their best player. He's playing far forward. And at the price point that he's at, which is, what is he, 5? Yeah, 5. I'm going to struggle really to find anyone that's playing in a top team and also like having chances. So I'm going to stick with him. And then there might be times when I pull him out if they've got a fixture I don't fancy. This week, I did take Declan Rice out of my lineup, and it was basically because of all the noise in this comment section. All the noise in here. So you lot, even you lurkers, I'm blaming you.
It was all the lurkers.
Rice gets 10 points. Finally, like, gets on the board. And I'm like, can't believe it's the week I ditched him. But yeah, it was okay. I haven't actually looked at your team. How did you end up in the end?
Not as good as you. I think 74. So yeah, way short. So what were you, 86? So yeah, I mean
84. Yeah,
84.
Yeah.
Anyone in the chat beat Dean's 84? Give us your number. CH has already given that call out. Mark got 88. Fair play. I think maybe a couple of you with big scores. Frode got 89.
104. That's massive.
It's massive. I mean, some got
lucky. Captain Haaland. Okay, yeah.
Well, we were asked that, weren't we? And we did say like target for it was the game, but we didn't say triple captain. I said wait till later in the season. But what I did tell you all was go big on City this week. So
yeah,
Foden only got me the 5 points, but Alvarez owner's done well. Obviously, I'm hoping you all captain Haaland. But look, loads of you like Frode, 89 points. Guardiola didn't come off the bench onto the pitch. Therefore, Archer on his FPL bench with an extra 12-pointer. That's nice. Who did I have? I had Estupinan come off my bench for Guardiola, who was on a clean sheet to the 94th minute.
Oh, mate, I didn't realise till ages later they'd let in a goal.
Because it was silly time, yeah.
Yeah, like, and I was just like, oh, it's great. And I checked my score. And I was like, I'm sure my score should be higher than that. What's happened? It's like Estupinan, 2 points. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Oh, that was so
Callum
annoying.
Wilson with a good goal. Typical Brighton. Like, they just always seem to concede, but they're obviously amazing in attack. We'll talk a little bit more about Brighton later in the show. Guys, good to see so many of you in the chat. Over 100. If you fancy hitting that like button, and to all of you guys that watch on Catch Up, we are speaking to the live chat very often in these shows, but we're also speaking to everyone that watches on demand as well. So good to see you all. Thank you for joining. Mark says, Gianni Batici left 3 goals on my Serie A bench, even though we had Archer come on his FPL bench. I had a great weekend in Serie A fantasy. I got over 100 points. Lautaro Martinez, captain. When loads of people went Kvaratskhelia and Osimhen, who both blanked, Lautaro Martinez, 15 points to 30. That was a big win.
He's got 5 goals this season, hasn't he? He seems like a great asset for you.
Mate, he had a poor World Cup. Off the back of the World Cup, he's been like, I can't think of many strikers, Osimhen and Haaland, that have done better than Lautaro since the World Cup. Like, he was amazing. Got into a Champions League final. Great end to the season in Serie A, and this season he's hit the ground running as well. He's a player.
Yeah, that is something I think a few Premier League teams should be regretting not going for him, because he was up for grabs if anybody wanted him. Oh, look, we got a long-time lurker. Nice to see you coming out there, creeping out from behind the curtain.
Tom kept Odegaard and Rashford. going back to Dean's be patient motto, like there were loads of Odegaard sellers. There was loads of Martinelli sellers, myself included. Now, both those Arsenal players returned, good players in good teams. Now, many sold Rashford. And again, you watch that game, you go, that's the United asset to own. Like I said last week, selling Rashford is super dangerous. I was up for selling the Arsenal guys, but not the United guys.
Mate, the thing is, so you watch United right now, and their biggest asset is how good they are on the break. Like they're really good at countering. And that means it's going to be Rashford that scores goals. So I don't think there's any logic in getting rid of Rashford, because if United score, I mean, who knows, Højlund, maybe he's going to start scoring, but it looks like it'll be Rashford. In terms of ditching Martinelli, I think that that's okay, because I don't think there's any obvious reason to keep Martinelli right now. Odegaard will still get some penalties. He's still getting good opportunities to score, and he's playing really well. Saka, I have to admit, is starting to bug me a little bit, but because of the pen factor, like I'm keeping him for now. But Martinelli, he doesn't have, like, beyond the fact that he's obviously a good creative player, he doesn't have a second attachment that would make me want to keep him. So I think that's still fine.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The penalties for Arsenal is a really interesting one, because we'd seen Odegaard take one, then Saka, and they've said it's dependent on how we're feeling on the pitch. But make no doubt about it, the guy that makes that call on the pitch ain't Saka, it's Odegaard, the club captain, the leader. And in games when Odegaard has scored the first goal, like he had at the weekend, I tweeted, if Arsenal get a penalty, I reckon it'll be Odegaard that takes it, because he scored a goal in that game. He's playing, Odegaard I thought was man of the match for the first hour. And Saka wasn't playing particularly well. And literally 30 seconds after the tweet, Arsenal Havertz won a penalty. It wasn't given. And the TV cameras never showed who was, when the VAR checks were going on, who was holding the ball. So on that tweet, someone commented, and I don't know how accurate this is, and I don't know the guy that did comment, but he said on 5 Live, they referenced that Odegaard was holding the ball ready to go. So again, I think it would have been Odegaard's.
But he did that against Fulham, and then he handed it to Saka.
Passed it.
So but that still goes to show that Odegaard immediately always picks up the ball and then decides, shall I take it or not?
Yeah, so true. I'm like, how long was he holding it for? And was he standing over the penalty spot? Or was he
find out who the commentator was, write to them, or get a full version of the game from like a distance. They don't zoom in on the ref action.
I'm hoping, because it was 5 Live, I'm hoping it's Ali Bruce Ball, because tomorrow, and do check it out, guys, if you don't already listen to the BBC football on BBC Sounds, you can access it. There's Fantasy 606 pod, and I'm on that tomorrow morning with Ali Bruce Ball. So I'm going to ask him, were you on Super Sunday comms? Because there's a very good chance he was. So he'll be able to give me a little steer there.
I like that.
Love that. So it's Monday. What do we do on a Monday? We show our teams. We answer your questions. We do bonus beasts. I do a bit of eye test scout report, but Dean always kicks us off with the notebook.
Yeah, so we are going to dive straight in. Obviously, transfer window shut now, which is great news because it means less work for me this week. And it means that Fabrizio Romano is not directly impacting on my mood and my life. But ultimately, it also means that I can take a step back a little bit and not panic. But obviously, there's still the potential of Mo Salah leaving. And I just thought it was a good talking point because I think that, with Salah obviously scoring at the weekend as well, looking at this offer of the chance to get £200 million for Mo Salah, that is an extraordinary amount of money to turn down if they do. And I don't know that it's sensible to turn down, to be completely honest. I understand if you are one of his teammates, if you are the manager, you're like, no, we don't want to sell Mo Salah, and that's fine. If you're the owners of Liverpool and you've got £200 million coming in for a 31-year-old who has probably peaked and might do well this season, but the season after is going to start to be a drop-off, there has to be a temptation to sell. Now, Liverpool are saying there's not, but I can't believe that they shouldn't be considering it. From a business point of view, he should be sold at that price point. Like Man United the Glazers would sell.
Even at 150, from a business point of view. You'd sell, wouldn't you? Even at 150.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I think that's probably the point at which you've got to consider it. And it's not like they've got problems. And the thing I was going to talk about as a knock-on effect of this was Szoboszlai. Now, obviously, he's got his goal, But what was really interesting is that Szoboszlai did start to drift wide, and he's showing like that he's played there before.
Yeah.
And he's good out there.
Naturally drifts wide, doesn't he?
Naturally, he likes to be out there. And it would be different to Salah, sure. But I don't know. I think if another offer lands and Salah, I think he'll have his head turned, but we'll have to wait and see. It would just make things extremely interesting. And Szoboszlai, from an FPL point of view, if Salah goes, that's probably where I'm jumping, to be honest.
Midfield 3 to front 3 is such a massive change, especially in that Liverpool team. The midfield 3 at Liverpool never historically have been good FPL assets. And the front 3 have always been amazing FPL assets. Now, Szoboszlai's like a low to mid-price midfielder.
Yeah.
He'll be on a lot of some of the set pieces, but he'll be that 20 yards further up the pitch. And with their midfield signings as well, they don't necessarily need Szoboszlai in the central 3. Like, I wonder if Klopp actually would like him in a slightly more attacking role.
Yeah. Now Gravenberch is through the door.
Yeah, McAllister's in there already next to him.
McAllister's there. Curtis Jones is still around. You know, you've got Endo to come in. You've still got others as well to figure. Like, they have actually got a few options there. I think if Liverpool are going to end up being short anyway, I do wonder a bit about centre-back. Now, I thought Joe Gomez did well at the weekend. But, you know, as soon as Trent, say did pick up a bad injury, and then Gomez has to go over to right back and Van Dijk isn't there, that's when I start to worry about whether Liverpool got the depth to actually put up that fight and finish second in the Premier League. But they're doing well. I'm enjoying watching Liverpool, and I think that the way they've come through those last 2 games has been pretty impressive. But yeah, let's see what happens with Salah. The second point I was going to talk about, let me get my actual notes up here for the notebooks. I've totally forgotten. Jadon Sancho. We might as well have a quick mention of this. I mean, I'm sure not a single person in here has Jadon Sancho in the FPL plans at the moment, just like Ten Hag doesn't have him in his Man United plans. But this thing about Jadon Sancho referring to himself as a scapegoat, I'm not having it.
United have supported him, haven't they? Big in the last year.
I just feel like, not even just Man United, this happened at Dortmund.
Did it? I didn't know that.
At Dortmund, he had issues with professionalism. Now, a lot of that was being late. A lot of that was timings. A lot of that was how he conducted himself. But I've heard there was also some problems with fitness and diet and stuff like that as well. And he comes into Man United. He's been there for 2 years now, basically. And how many games has Jadon Sancho played well? 5, 6? Like, I can't really remember one, to be honest. I'm just giving him benefit.
I remember one game he scored against Chelsea where he mugged Jorginho on the halfway line and he got the winning goal. That's the only goal that comes to mind.
A moment that comes to mind. Like, this was a guy they chased for 18 months, 2 years, and ended up spending an extraordinary amount of money on. And so when Ten Hag says he hasn't trained well enough, and Sancho says, yes, I did, well, I kind of trust in Ten Hag here, because Ten Hag's expectations are here, and it feels like Sancho's just like settling for this right now. Now, unless there is an underlying reason for this, I want to reserve judgment a little bit, just in case there is something going on in Sancho's life or something that I don't know about. But based on everything I've seen and heard on Sancho in the past 5 years, say, I feel like actually this is a good excuse for him to say, I was treated poorly, get me out of here, and just get out of Man United, because this isn't going to turn around for the better.
For Pep to let him go when he did as well, and we know Pep's disciplinarian, that there was a slight alarm bells there. He didn't fancy him enough.
Exactly.
Because him and Foden were the two. Obviously, he's let Palmer go. We don't know the reason there. But yeah, for Ten Hag to out him like that, and if there was more to it, like you say, reserve judgment just in case there's more to it. If there was, Ten Hag wouldn't publicly out him.
It's very unnecessary to go there, isn't it? You're opening a can of worms that could have. United are like, this is an internal matter. Your manager's just gone on camera and spoken about it. We wouldn't have known about this. Like, you can't say this is an internal matter when he's the one that's made it public. So yeah. Anyway,
If United win, that doesn't come out, does it? It's Ten Hag who's sort of he's venting a bit. He's annoyed, and it's one of the lines that can easily come out.
He was venting a lot, wasn't he? He was venting a lot. So yeah, let's also see how Højlund can do, and United needs Sancho.
I thought he looked good.
Yeah, I think
he's clearly like we all knew how fast he was, but he's a powerful lad. We haven't seen any examples of his finishing yet at United, but he's going to be a
No, it's exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. Just to round off the notebook, I just wanted to let you know that Raul Jimenez is going to score against Luton in Fulham's next game. So if you're looking for a different vet, Get on Raul Jimenez.
He actually looks all right, isn't he?
He's actually playing quite well. He's actually getting into good positions. In every game, he could have scored. And I know that sounds a bit Nicholas Jackson of me, but Raul Jimenez is getting close to like scoring goals. And I feel like Luton is his time. It was Nico Jackson's time, so it's going to be Raul Jimenez's time as well. So just to let you all know, I'm telling you this early.
0.9% owned, Dean.
Exactly.
Proper differential. 5.4
How much is he?
million.
5.4.
He's had a price
more than
drop.
I thought. That is more than I thought.
He did come up. The only thing with Jimenez is because sorry, he got 80 minutes. I'm wrong. He got 57 minutes game week 1. Then he had 85, 90, 80. And the fixtures after Luton, as I say, it's Luton at home, best fixture on paper you could have. Mm-hmm. Palace away, okay. Chelsea at home, but then it's Sheffield United at home. So 2 of the 4 best fixtures you could have. Two of the best fixtures you could have are in the next 4.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
2 of those homes.
Exactly. And he's guaranteed to start because we've got no other forwards. Like we've got a couple, but they are rubbish. So he's playing. So if you're looking just for a different one and you don't want to pick Archer because everyone else is going to be picking Archer right now, just look at Raul Jimenez.
Oh, I'd love that. Please, one of our chasers do it. Maybe we can put him in the chaser team. We'll be
Stick
showing
him in the Chasers team is doing rubbish. So stick him in there.
It's far too differential, the chaser team. We need a differential in there. It's far too template, sorry. All right, let's move on and have a little bit of eye test report because at the weekend, we saw a couple of players do really well that I want to give an eye test report on, but we're going to save that for the bonus beast feature. But we should touch on some of the players that didn't get 3 bonus that also look really, really good. I'm going to start with Julian Alvarez at Man City. Now, I always go back to ceiling. Buy players with high ceiling, with high explosive potential. And Liverpool players have often been in that bracket, Arsenal, United, but Man City more than any team. And they went and put 5 past Fulham in a game that at one point was a really tight affair. They can do this. They can bully teams late in games. And that's where you really clock up those extra FPL points. Now, Alvarez, yes, he scored, but we've seen he is the De Bruyne replacement often in this team. And with that, a couple of assists. With that, a lot of the set pieces. Now, him and Foden, I think there's very little to split them. Actually, I prefer Foden because he's in my team. But Alvarez is a little bit cheaper and a great route to that Man City attack. You need more than Haaland at the moment if they're going to be scoring 5 goals a game.
It's kind of pointless. Like it's like we've all got 10 men because everyone's got Haaland. It's only difference if you're going to triple captain him. So you do need another asset, and it's basically Foden, or it's him, like Alvarez. Like I don't really feel that there's anywhere else you're going to be guaranteed at the moment. At some point later in the season, maybe Grealish comes into play, but not at the moment.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I want to touch on Arsenal now as well, because we saw late in the game, Gabriel Jesus come off the bench, take his goal so well, which, by the way, Gabriel Jesus' finishing, we know it's often below par, but I always think it's better when the pressure's off in games that are already won or in games against lower opposition. He often finishes, I think, better. The next fixtures for Jesus off the back of the international break, Everton away, good fixture. Spurs at home, the derby, there'll still be goals in that. And then it's Bournemouth away. Then, sure, it's City and Chelsea. But I do wonder with Jesus if knowing no one's got him because he's 1.9% and knowing so many have got Watkins or Jackson, if we want to jump off either of those assets, I think a real nice differential is Jesus. Now, you might already be heavily invested in Arsenal and have double midfield. Don't overkill it with triple. I questioned if we needed double Arsenal midfield last week, so I don't want to say jump on double Arsenal attack straight away, but just monitor Jesus because I think in that price bracket of 7.5 to 8 million, I think he is the best asset. And pre-season, before he got injured, he was in all our drafts. I think he was probably 50% owned, and now he's 2% owned. So
is he? Wow.
I like him.
Yeah, that is true. He was in everybody's drafts at the start, so we would have picked him. I'm really confused about what Arsenal are, I must say. Like, I don't know if they're fumbling their way through this or if they're showing a really good mentality and that they are as good as they were last season. They're caught between trying to replicate the way that they were winning games last season, but also transitioning towards a new way of playing because they're scared everybody's worked them out, and they're caught in between that. And they're managing to get the points they need. I don't know. They've got a really tough game. Is their next game Bournemouth, is it? Who's their next? Who's their first game out after the break? I know they've got. I was looking at it earlier on. I should have loaded this up before I started.
No, Arsenal were Everton.
Everton. Okay, but from what I remember, I'm going to load this up actually, so I don't get this wrong. But so after that one, so they've got a really nice game out of the break, but the time we're actually going to figure out what Arsenal actually are is in the next 4 games after that. Because after Everton, they've got Tottenham at home, Bournemouth away, Man City home, Chelsea away. They're the 4 games that I'm going to wait to gauge on whether Arsenal are actually like as good as they were last season. So that'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Final one on the eye test, because it was his Premier League debut for Sheffield United. Cameron Archer's in loads of teams. He is clearly the best 8th attacker. When we talk about that benched attacker, you can only start 7 of them, whether it's your 4.5 mid or your 4.5 million forward. Cameron Archer is clearly going to be, I think, the best of the rest. Will he ever be in our 11s? I'm not so sure.
He's in mine last week.
Yeah. Was that at choice or was that an auto sub?
No, it was our choice. Yeah, do you remember we had the conversation about making a transfer or bringing in Archer, and I was like, considering he's playing Everton, I'm going to give him the benefit of that. If he's ever going to score a goal, that's the game when he's going to score.
You did say that. You were like, if I'm never going to start him if I can't start him against Everton at home.
Exactly. So I was actually listening to the game on the radio as well, and I was going mad in my car as he scored. So 12 points. I mean, I don't know how many times he's going to replicate that throughout the season, but he is. I've in the draft that I've got for when we come back to action, like they've got Tottenham away, so he's back on the bench for that one. Yeah. But
some of those home games,
that's fine. Yeah.
And you could. He was great. Even the goal the own goal where he got the assist, could argue he was unlucky it didn't go in. Right, hit the post, a curler from 25 yards. Great effort. We've got 2 players that we've not spoken about who really caught the eye this weekend. We're going to talk about them in bonus beasts and show you some data. When we show the next sting, guys, we give you 5 seconds to hit the like button. So do that next up with Eye Test Report. What am I talking about? I meant tips and chips in bonus beasts. So we've not spoken about him much in the first 4 game weeks, Trent. I think I said a couple of weeks back, I was like, when Liverpool start keeping clean sheets, we're all going to be interested in Trent again. Because when you get the clean sheets with Trent, if they keep a clean, and if he even gets 1 attacking return and it's just an assist, as it was last time out, then you get bonus. Because this guy is so good at all of those underlying stats that accumulate towards the BPS. There's 34 metrics, and things like key passes and accurate crosses and pass completion and interceptions and all the creativity he is amazing at. So we can see here, this is the average position map. I forgot to click on the number 66 for Trent to show the heat map. But you can see he's slightly inverted, right? This is where he was playing at the end of last season, like drifting into more central positions. Now, you could argue that's far too deep for a fullback for me. Trent at the end of last season was taking up similar positions to this, where he was getting attacking returns every week. So sure, we want him a little bit further forward, and maybe we'll get that when he's playing against weaker opposition. Villa still a very, very good outfit. But I like this. I like this from Trent. I want to see him drifting inwards. And from there, I think he's more creative and will get some of those key passes. 5 key passes is awesome. I can't remember a time when Trent was, for a while, around that 10% ownership mark, 15 to 10%, where I think he's been all of this season. And those fixtures read really well. Wolves and West Ham up next. Look, money is often an issue, but this season doesn't seem to be. I still think there's better options than Trent. Like if I'm looking for a defender that I haven't got that I really want, it's probably still a Doji. But Trent's a really nice option too. And he'll justify that price tag at some point.
It will, yeah. I mean, the one thing I find difficult about judging him on this Villa game is how passive Villa were and how much time they gave him on the ball. Like they didn't really press high, and Liverpool were just able to sit there, and he was just picking out passes from like deep, and not sure how many teams are actually going to allow that to happen, or even why Villa would allow that to happen in the first place. It was very weird, but he'd clip balls into that right-hand channel and was being given time to play really good first-time passes into the front line. That's probably where those 5 key passes come from. Also was over set plays as well. He's always standing over those with McAllister or Szoboszlai. And that's going to continue to be the case. He's definitely coming back onto my... After watching that game, And I watched him quite closely on the rerun. I watched like the extended highlights like again later in the day. I just kind of kept an eye on him and where he was and where he was getting the ball. I was like, this is becoming more interesting for sure. Then obviously he got his injury, and then you're like, okay, all right, well that's that on the back burner for now. But well, if he's fit again after the break, I don't think I'll pick him because I haven't got £8 million to spend on a defender. But at some point, maybe a wild card or something like that, he might be able to become an option.
Yeah, and he missed 20 minutes of the game. And in that 20 minutes, all those other defenders also on a clean sheet. Could have leapfrogged him in the bonus. Nope, ain't going to happen. He missed a quarter of the game, and still, that's how good he is for those extra 3 points when he's got a return and a clean sheet in him. Let's move on to the next player, because standout player of the game week, the guy many will want to buy in the international break, and some will. This guy will see, I think he's already gone up in price. He'll probably go up again because he's fresh off a hat-trick. And most importantly, he played as the number 9. Now, this is so, so important. I thought when Richarlison loses the 9, it will be Son. And I thought there was a world in which we'd see Perisic come in. In this case, it was Solomon. It didn't really matter. Whoever was on the left provided for him. And Solomon with the 2 bonus and I think clocked a couple of assists of his own. But look at this heat map from Son. We're obviously looking other way to Liverpool. So we're looking upwards. The number 7 there, so central. And look at the hottest part of that heat map in the 18-yard box. He didn't have a huge amount of touches, only 17 passes, 14 of which were successful, but his touches were in and around the box. 3 shots on target, 3 goals. If only Richarlison was that clinical, he'd be in all our teams, because Richarlison's had his shots this season, some of which in and around that penalty spot where Son was taking them. The extra added bonus for Son, and we don't know this as a guarantee, but Postecoglou has alluded to it, that the penalty taker will be Son. It could be Maddison, it could be Richarlison. That's pretty much what Postecoglou said. But as the captain, as the guy playing number 9, as the main man at this Spurs team, other than Maddison, but the guy that's been there longer, he's going to be on pens for me. And I think as a 9.1 million midfielder, we like him very much.
Yeah, and I think that, look, I'll be honest, so I've keep saying I'm going to stick with what I've got, and I want to be loyal because I feel like the points come anyway, and particularly Salah, I feel like if I just stick with Salah, it will come. But if I was to get to Son, then I could easily downgrade Salah to Son. Tottenham's next game, United at home. Yeah. That's tempting. Liverpool got Wolves away, so it's not like that's a really hard game, but still, Sheffield United at home is the fixture you want to target for a lot of teams. And Son going into that game, he's definitely going to start, so we know that he's definitely playing. Will he definitely play the number 9? Well, we don't know that for sure, but what we did see in that game, if you think of the connection that Kane and Son used to have, Maddison and Son are replicating that. And Maddison and Richarlison were not replicating that. They play in a different way. But if you watch the game closely and you see what Maddison's doing, and Maddison has started to make up for a lot of that deeper work that Kane used to do. And Son and Maddison seem to be on this wavelength. They seem to have that thing where you look at each other and you just bang and you're watching your movements. That is kind of what has dragged me into now considering Son. I'm surprised at how quickly Maddison has settled into life at Tottenham. I think it's probably been helped by the fact that he's joining a new project at the time when all the other players are having to get on board with it too. So it's not like everybody else is already in the playing philosophy. He was early enough through the door that he's as big a part of it as anybody else. So I think that's what's helped him get on board with it all early.
Maybe the one thing that I was put off by Son was I was thinking, international break, I'm often put off South American players and some of the players in Asia for that long distance travel, right? So I've just looked, where's he coming back from and on what date? The good news, this is amazing. Son's 2 international fixtures are at the Millennium Stadium against Wales and then at St. James's Park versus Saudi Arabia.
No way.
So good. So he's not even leaving the UK, and that Saudi Arabia game is on, I think, the Tuesday. So way before the deadline and his weekend. So he's going to be fresh and ready for that Sheffield United.
That's amazing,
game.
Unless he plays so well against Saudi Arabia, they sign him for one of their teams. I
think that'll be Mancini's second game in charge of the Saudi Greens.
Yeah, it will be, yeah. That is really interesting. Yeah,
I don't know about Richarlison. I've not looked, but I assume Richarlison will be in South America. But yeah,
moaning I think as well. Watch for Richarlison moaning, doing an interview where he's like not happy or something about the way he's been being played or something like.
At the end of the game, they went and thanked the away fans at Burnley, and Richarlison was obviously on the pitch because he had come on as a sub. And I just saw him. There was a shot of the fans clapping. It was at the side of the camera. I don't think many would have seen it unless you were particularly looking for it. Richarlison had his top off shirt over his shoulder and sort of pulled a face. And Romero went to sort of console him. And it was like, yeah, you're already kicking off and throwing your toys.
Why is he sulking? Like, what is he sulking about? Because he scored a League Cup goal against Fulham. He thinks he deserves the world. Like, they've given you opportunities. You haven't scored goals. You haven't played particularly bad, but they've changed the system. They've put Son up front. He scored a hat-trick. Like, whatever level of football you're playing, you have to just accept that. Like, it's not going your way. You've got to work to get your place back. He'll get a chance again. Definitely will. But Tottenham's best option is to play Son through the middle at the moment. As somebody just mentioned in the comments section, now they've got Brennan Johnson too. The chances are that it gives them more of an opportunity to play Son through the middle.
Yeah, and it'll be him or Kulu on the right.
Yeah.
Tom said, no, wait, who said it? Michael, apologies. It's the Cardiff City Stadium. The match is in the Cardiff City Stadium, and the Millennium Stadium has been renamed the Principality Stadium. So, Michael, I'm sorry, a proud Welshman, I'm sure. Yeah, you're right to pull me on both those things. I was just glimpsing through, and when I said it, I thought, was it the Cardiff City Stadium? But yeah, they can't fill it, can they? They can't fill the Millennium, the football team. That's why they're in the Cardiff City Stadium. Sorry, Michael. Let's move on. Nothing worse than bad attitude to CH on the money. You're quite right, and Postecoglou will not like that. And what I'd say about Son in these fixtures, you might look at it and go, "Oh, is it a 1 week punt? What about Arsenal and Liverpool up next?" Trust me, this Spurs team is scoring goals in those big fixtures. They'll probably concede against Arsenal and Liverpool. In fact, I think they're like could be 2 or 3.
They could beat both those teams, though. Yeah,
exactly. We're going to see so much fun, and then it's Luton, and then for like I really want Son in my team. I don't know how I'm going to get him in, and we'll have a look in just a second of how both Dean and I might be able to move to him. I think if you own Salah, if you own Bruno, potentially easy guilt-free switches. Outside of that, it's hard. Even like I've got money in the bank, 2 million. Do I want to sell a Foden for a Son? I'm not so sure I do, maybe. But look, let's have a look at our teams up next. And also we have to check out that community team. Pick my team. Here we go.
Here they are, the lads. Well played, lads. So it's all looking okay. I've really addressed this earlier on, so we won't spend too much time on it. Onana, that's probably the only one that's annoyed me. Like we were talking, weren't we, on Friday about the toss-up between Turner and Onana. None of us could see Forest keeping a clean sheet, and we thought Onana would have the chance to just pip Turner to the points. Absolutely smashed him 5-0. So that was an error, but
it's a big swing, that, isn't it? 5 points at this point in the season.
Yeah, it's big, and it's an annoying point. Like when I look at my bench, I'm like, I still wouldn't have picked Rice. To be fair, it would have been my first sub. But Turner, it was a toss of a coin, and I've just gone the other way with it, so it's a bit frustrating. But yeah, not much else to really report on it. Saka, as I say, is annoying me a little bit with his form this season, and yeah, if I was to go to Son, then it would make most sense, I think, to just drop down Salah for that one, mainly because I don't feel like I'm losing points on Salah. He's 25% owned. Yeah. Like most people I look around me that are quite good, typically in my mini leagues, like a couple of them have got Salah, but they're probably thinking the same thing as me anyway. Like, would I be better off jumping onto Son for Sheffield United at home? You can always get back on Salah at a later date. The thing I was going to say on Son, if you're looking at a silver boot winner in the Premier League this season, and it is a silver boot because Haaland's going to win the golden boot, who's it going to be? And there's not an obvious person. Like Evan Ferguson and Mbeumo have got 4 goals each. And then there's Son now on 3. I know he's got 3 in the one game, but if he's going to play through the middle, it's Son and Salah are probably the 2 that you're going to back. Maybe Højlund. We'll have to wait and see what comes, or Darwin or someone. But typically right now, I think you'll be looking at Salah and Son as the 2 that are going to get closest to Haaland for goals.
Yeah.
And so that's really what your decision should come down to, because that's where the points are going to come from at the end of the season. And it's really, really hard to know right now who will outscore who. If you look at from a historic point of view, you just go Salah, don't you? But I don't also know which is the better team right now. I still get a hunch that Liverpool end above Tottenham over the course of the season, but right now Tottenham are a more exciting team.
Yeah, they are. They are well exciting. Question from Bill about Estupinan, because we've both got him. Highest owned defender in the game, probably the second or third highest player in the game. Hasn't been keeping clean sheets, but did start so well in terms of attacking returns. European football around the corner, fixtures turning for Brighton. I still think he's a keep, unless there's a defender there's a must-have defender out there you don't have. But there is no must-have defenders out there. Do you have to beeline for a Chilwell? No. A Trent? Probably not. An Udogie's the best in terms of the one I don't see in a huge amount of teams, who I would like, but I don't feel like I need to have straight away. Man City cover, yes, it'd be nice, but I don't think it's a must-have. So using transfers on 5 million defenders, sure, if your team needs it, you do it. But I'd much rather target your upside high-value midfielders like your Maddisons or your Sons, or even your Fodens and Rashfords if you don't have those guys. So I don't necessarily think he's a sell. I wouldn't be buying him. I wouldn't be too scared of the ownership. But just know with Estupinan, in terms of attacking output, he is right up there with the league's best fullbacks. And Brighton are a team that, in terms of the underlying numbers, suggest they're the best or second best attack in the league in terms of their shot volume, the chances they create. And Estupinan often finds himself in and around the opposition box. But I do think he'll be on a few benches. I think he'll probably be on my bench for a few weeks, but he just feels like a long-term hold. Remember, he has had a price rise as well. I think he's 5.1. He might even be more. So I think you can stick with it, Estupinan, and just bench him in the tricky fixtures.
Yeah, I mean, I think people would regret ditching him, to be honest. I mean, if you watch Brighton and all their games, like Estupinan's always a player that you would be interested in having in your fantasy team. And I feel like as soon as you ditch him, he'll start returning again. He was very close to a good haul here. I'm not even contemplating getting him out of my team.
He's 5.3. He's had 3 price rises. There we go. Just checked his price point. So yeah, again, he's going to make you money when you sell him, but again, he'll continue to rise if he keeps playing the way he is. 84, fair play, Dean. Love the fact you started Archer. Don't think many at all did that. Some got lucky with auto subs. I don't know anyone that had him in their 11, so fair play to you there. Let's move on to my team, and then we're going to see the community team, which I'm excited about because I want to see early poll interest. We won't make any transfers, of course we won't, but I want to know your thoughts on the community team, guys, because I think we can start to have a little bit more fun with it. So Batici's Babes got 74 points. A red arrow before the international break is never fun. My rank's around 1 million now. So a few reds I've had. I think a couple of weeks ago I was around 500,000. So it's not been a fun couple of weeks. But it is so tight, and it doesn't bother me too much this point in the season. Disappointing, the Chelsea clean sheet wipeouts at half-time. It was so comfortable. I think I read on the BBC website, Chelsea are cruising here. They're not going to concede. It's super tight. It's super comfortable for them. But it's errors. And we've seen it with Man City and Chelsea in recent weeks. Think of Man City at Sheffield United, Chelsea at Forest. One error in terms of your possession play, because these teams commit numbers forward, when you do concede possession and you've only got 1 or 2 players behind you, the turnover of the opposition team can be so quick and dangerous that it's converted into a goal. And we saw that with Wenger. Dangerous play there.
I really don't understand. I don't understand this fascination that Pochettino has with turning Chilwell into the most attacking player. I just don't know why he's doing this. He's going too far. He's great as an attacking fullback, but he's not an attacker, and you don't want him, as we've seen, going through on goal up too often, because he's not got the ruthlessness in him to finish the chances. He gets a bit scared because he's not used to being there. It's a weird place to be as a fullback, and I feel like that has to change at some point. But the problem with Chelsea have got is, Mudrik's just not settled, has he, since he's come into Chelsea or come into the Premier League. Something's going on there. I don't know what it is, but he's not himself. It's not helping. Nicholas Jackson still hasn't got form, and you're looking for players around it. Cole Palmer did look quite good, but Yeah, just looking at the Chelsea game, I felt it's only really Enzo and maybe Cole Palmer that came out of it. And I'm thinking, yeah, I like what I've seen.
It's so interesting that we're seeing Chilwell early subbed, like 75 minutes gone. Your captain is coming off the pitch and one of the experienced members of that team. You could, if you're chasing a game against Nottingham Forest, go, Chilwell, you're not having the best of game. You're our captain. We need you on the pitch. We're going to equalise here. Go to left back where you've played all your career and we'll take Colwell off, or we'll take a centre back off and put Colwell centre back if he's playing well. But the fact Poch didn't even consider that was I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, you do not want this guy playing anywhere near your defensive line. Clearly, you don't think he's good enough defensively, which there has been question marks, which is why we always associate Chilwell being better as a wing back. But playing wing back is very different to playing as a wide forward. And Chilwell's being asked to play as a wide forward. So his starting position is already in and around the box. What Chilwell's good at doing in terms of attacking output is late runs into the box. Often then he's not marked and he's ghosting in. Very different starting positions. And I want to see Chilwell move back to playing either wing back if we play with wing backs or as a left back being allowed to advance. That's where he's played all his career. That's what got him the move to Chelsea. That's what got him playing very, very well. So let's monitor that one. But I still think it's an FPL asset because he's advanced. We will get some attacking returns. In terms of how I could bring in Son, I've got 2 point something in the bank, but it's not quite enough to go Matoma to Son. Do I want to sell Matoma? I'm not so sure I do. Do I want to sell Saka? I don't think so. Rashford, absolutely not. Maddison, absolutely not. Foden, I don't think so. So to get Son, I've got to sell Saka or I've got to sell Foden. And I'm not sure I'm willing to do either of those. So watch this space. But at the moment, that's where I'm thinking my early transfer will be.
Saka's tempting. Saka's starting to become tempting. But yeah, I know what you mean. You're scared to ditch him just in case.
Yeah, although Son would be loads of fun for Sheffield United at home. I could even go. I feel like many of us have got teams that feel so well set that we don't need. Oh, mate, there's 2 pigeons outside my window mating. They stopped. I wanted to get a photo and they've stopped.
Oh, no, you're creeping on pigeons. This is a low.
If they come back, I'm going to send a photo. They're there still. They're just not at it.
Had a row halfway through.
So, yeah, I was streaming live on my channel for the first time ever on Friday, and this happened.
Bill just sent again with the pigeons.
Oh, yeah, Bill was watching. Good to see so many of you are watching both the channels I appear lots on, my own one and, of course, Chasing Green Arrows. Thank you guys for the support.
Chasing Pigeons, you'll be doing next.
Yeah. It's funny because I was selling the idea of memberships and I had different tiers and I had like a squad tier and an ultras tier. I was like, I can't obviously have a chaser tier. I took ultras from you, actually. It was the rank squad inspired. And someone was like, you need to have a pigeon tier, mate. You just need a pigeon tier for like 50p.
I'm going to say it sounds cheap, that tier, though.
So, yeah, Son would be my early transfer thoughts. I don't know how I accommodate and I don't know if I go there. Matt, I didn't ask you your early transfer thoughts. Do you think it will be Salah out, Son in?
I think it's quite likely, yeah, just because it's such a good fixture for Son. Like, obviously, like if Salah might leave this week and it'll be decided for me, but that is my temptation, and I think it's quite probable because then I'd also have money in the bank, and it allows me to be a bit more loose with my plans as well. So it's such a hard fixture to ignore. Tottenham at home to Sheffield United, 3:00 on a Saturday.
Yeah. In terms of captaincy, because we've had a few questions in the chat, I still think Haaland away to West Ham is a good fixture. I still think we're going to be captaining, obviously, Haaland at home to Forest game week 6, away towards game week 7. Game week 8, Man City play Arsenal away. The hardest game, you could say, on paper for Man City. So it is worth thinking, if game week 8 you don't want to captain Haaland, it's worth thinking about players you might want to bring in for that game week's captain. Now, just throw it out there. Another argument for Son is in game week 8, he plays Luton.
Oh, does he?
Oh, Haaland to Arsenal, Son to Luton. You go with the Spurs player. It is away at Luton, but it's still.
You still take Son against Luton. Yeah. That actually might even cement it for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I do like that. Other game week 8 fixtures include Man United at home to Brentford. Again, I don't think I'm ready to captain United. Means
absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Chelsea play Burnley if Jackson's firing by then. Villa play Wolves. Liverpool Brighton. So again, you're not going to captain a Liverpool player that week. Spurs Luton. I mean, maybe you just go, I've got Maddison, that's enough, give him the armband. But I feel like, especially if Son's going to be on pens, and maybe by game week 8, we 100% know that. That'd be tasty. So let's have a look at the Chaser teams. We've got 12 minutes left. I'm still looking at your questions to bring in, guys, in the chat. And thank you so many for watching. We've got around 300 of you watching. If you fancy hitting that like button and obviously subscribing to the channel, but also, if you didn't already know, Chasing Green Arrows has got a sister channel called Chasing the Target. It's a YouTube channel, but also Chasing the Target on Twitter, on Instagram. You may have guessed, it ain't football, it's cricket, Chasing the Target. Well, our main man is out in Sri Lanka this week with eyes on loads of cricket. I think it's the Asia Cup. I think India played Pakistan yesterday. He's been with Nepal today. So do check out our social clips at Chasing the Target. There'll also be loads of content around the ICC World Cup. So if you're a cricket fan, that is the channel for you, Chasing the Target. But let's have a look at the Chaser team. 76 has still beat me, but it's pretty template. And I think, Dean, this team needs to move to 5 midfielders because there's so many good mids. We're naming them all the time. And it's like, João Pedro can go, can't he?
João Pedro can go. Like, I'm not seeing enough from him to have him in anymore. He's obviously a good player. I'm not even sure how he fits into the Brighton format as we move forward. I think he's going to become a bit of a risk. So it just seems like he's eating up money unnecessarily. So my personal advice would be to get him out and figure out a way of getting in a fifth mid, hopefully Son if it can be got. But look, it's good to have stuck with Mbeumo. Like, as much as I've knocked him, he has continued to deliver points. So I'm not going to suggest that he goes for a while because he is delivering FPL points no matter what Brentford are doing. And just look through. I guess, Watkins, you could put that out for debate as well. Like, some people won't like the fact that he's not notching at the moment, 22% owned, but not scoring goals. I think they're the two. I mean, Chukwuemeka's still there on the bench, not to be seen anytime soon. So he'll be dropping him. He's not going to be pulling up any trees anytime soon. So there's that. Gvardiol. I mean, what do we make of the Gvardiol thing?
I've got him, but I've got him too. I think we just take the benchings. He'll still play 7 or 8 out of 10. I think. Mate, the chat. So we've got 2.5 in the bank here. CH has said, Janny, let the Chasers decide. CH, I've got to ask the question. I'm not saying we have to sell João Pedro. It's just, he's got to go. You've got to ask. You've got to often give a little bit of opinion in your question. But I've seen the chat saying, how about a wild card? Now, I don't want to influence it, but today, right now, we can poll, should this team wildcard? Because, look, if it was my team, I don't know what I'd do, but I'm looking at it going, don't fancy that player, don't fancy that player, don't fancy that player. So let's just poll it, because obviously if it was a wildcard team and you guys wanted to, we would show you some wildcard drafts on Friday or Monday or whatever and start polling more. But, yeah, let's get your take on that. Let's do a poll. Should we wildcard? Yes or no? I'm not going to give my opinion. Don't want to influence you guys. Interesting one to get your take on. I'm sure it's going to be split.
Yeah, let's have a look at that.
Are you going to vote it, Dean?
I don't think I would wildcard, to be honest. I think you can get around it for now. I don't think it's bad enough. I think there might be 3 changes there that I'd make, but I think you could get away with two for now. So I would vote no.
If I could make unlimited changes to this team, I'd sell João Pedro, I'd sell Watkins, I'd sell Martinelli, and I think I'd sell Saka. So 4 of the 11 I'd sell. But it looks like it's a no.
It's
like
not all necessary is the problem, isn't it? It's just it's there's going to be times in the season when you're going to regret that. So probably wouldn't go right now. Adam says, how much in the bank? I'm not sure.
Two. I think Faz has just let us know. 2.5.
2.5. That's quite decent.
Yeah, so you're right. We can do a lot with it with just the transfer or a hit if we wanted to.
You could take a hit for now. Like, it doesn't really matter at this stage of the season. Like, the season has gone that badly that you can't take a hit. 2.5 in the bank. Yeah, I think you got room to maneuver there. And
João Pedro to like an Archer, and then you just can go. You could probably go Son.
I think you can get to Son if you go down to Archer. You could probably get up to Son somehow. So I would probably look at something like that.
Yeah, or Martinelli to Son, says RTJ, and João Pedro down to Archer. Again, that works. But yeah, you could sell.
Probably the route to go.
or you go Chukwuemeka to Maddison. Yeah, there's options. Well, 66% say no wildcard.
Yeah.
In terms of initial thoughts, then I don't. Oh, we could poll who do we need to sell, but I think we're going to say João Pedro. So maybe the question is, do you guys think this team needs a hit to go 3-5-2? Yes or no should be the question. We'll poll that and see what you guys say. Because, I mean, you could do it over 2 weeks. You could go João Pedro to Archer week 1 and then bring in an extra mid the week 2. But to really jump on Spurs, Sheffield United at home, you might want to take the hit.
Yeah,
Adam says take the hit.
I think, like, seeing as this is just our fun team, we should be taking the hit. Like, this is part of the fun. We want to take the hits to then get the better players in and see if we can, we want to try the things that we're always too scared to do with our own team, right? Like, it might all backfire, but ultimately,
we should be hitting every week.
We should be hitting more regularly than we're going to with our own, for sure.
It does look like...
Everyone wants to hit. Everyone wants to hit.
Oh, Christ, I just voted no by mistake.
Oh, don't worry. You're getting smashed, so it's fine.
Oh, good.
87% are saying yes.
All right, wicked. Okay, look, guys, don't worry. We will not be making decisions before deadline, I promise you. But we will take forward the idea of a hit when we poll this next week. And I think the hit is going to be... We'll do the maths on it, but I think João Pedro to Archer, I don't know how much that leaves us. I don't know if we go Chukwuemeka straight to Son, but we obviously can get Son if we sell any of the other mids.
We can get to Son otherwise, yeah. And I think we'd be mad to ignore that. But again, it's not up to us to decide. Maybe people don't want to target Sheffield United. Maybe they've seen something that I haven't.
Yeah, CH has just rightly said, would you be interested in polls on Twitter to narrow down the player selection? Yeah, maybe we do, guys. We could do some Twitter polls to narrow down the players and then bring the final, easier, quicker polls on here. Because, yeah, you're right, CH. Like, I have to give a little bit of influence to even name who we should be polling.
Yeah.
And maybe that's done on Twitter before.
Yeah, that's a good point.
For that.
There's also things to consider. Obviously, like, loads of transfers have just been made and those players largely weren't seen. So we're coming back. You're going to have Kudus coming into the picture, Højlund coming into the picture. There's going to be a few players that actually, from an attacking point of view, a midfield point of view, you might just want to start throwing into the mix that people haven't been brave enough to go for. Yeah,
like, João Pedro to Højlund could be loads of fun. Maybe
could be.
Not when you're doing a normal team, but you reckon he's good for a start now? Now he's had his cameo off the bench. I think he gets 60.
By the time we're back, I think he'll get a 60 or 70. Yeah, I think so. I mean, Man United aren't very good, so they need him back as soon as possible. I do remember Ian saying, like, he was going to need... It would be a while until they stick him back in. But the fact that we've already seen him now, and Man United are like 11th in the league or wherever they are, they can't resist it, can they? They can't resist it. And he's going to be desperate to make his mark.
Martial is a shadow of his old self. Guys, let's poll. Would you like to see Twitter polls to narrow down the selection, yes or no? Because I'm conscious, while CH, I think it's a great idea, some of you might be like, FPL Twitter, I don't even use that. I sometimes forget the Twitter bubble isn't the whole FPL community. So, let's ask you guys if you want to use Twitter for some of the narrowing down of player selections.
No, that is a good point. Yeah. I don't really use Twitter for FPL,
no, you're a free spirit, mate. That's why you started Cameron Archer.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, because the problem is with me, when I do hear noise, it does get into my head. It's one of the things I'm not on Twitter because, like, the trolls get into me too much and influence my moods. But yeah, if I was to hear too many opinions and see too many other teams, I would just start going to the team that everyone else has got, and I'm determined to make sure that doesn't happen this season. So I'm glad that Archer one paid off. What's it looking like on here? What do people think?
There's a lot saying in the chat they don't have Twitter or X.
Yeah. And if that, if this is our community, then fine. CH uses it for Twitter, for FP, and for true crime. I like that.
Polls on Twitter, Craig says, are a good way to encourage people to follow you over there. Yeah, you're right. And yeah, maybe our production team might want to be more active on Twitter, but at the same time, I know they're fairly big on Instagram instead. So yeah, happy with either. Yeah, I think it's going to be a no, but looks of it, and I'm all right with that. I like the fact that the YouTube audience can be quite different to the Twitter audience. I think there's a lot of positives in there for that.
Yeah, definitely. I guess there is always the possibility of outsiders just voting for whoever they want and they don't even watch the show. So
yeah, they're not actual lurkers or chasers.
Yeah, exactly.
T Hussein says, wildcard early during the international break. We just polled it, mate. If you're just joining us, we've decided not to wildcard this team, but we probably will be, and we'll give you options later in the week or early next. Be taking a 4-point hit, and it might be to change that formation. So there we go. Nice one, CH. CH says, Craig, that was half the reason I suggested it, to get us more active on Twitter. Well, maybe we will be. But look, guys, if you are on it for a Twitter fix of FPL chat, I guarantee if you follow me, you'll be happy. You might not like it all, but you'll get a lot of posts about FPL. Yeah. So there we go. We've seen our teams, guys. We haven't had a ton of questions, so we won't be doing a quick fire questions. But if you've got questions, then do come on to Friday's show, because we'll make that fairly Q&A heavy. We won't be back on Wednesday this week, so it won't be me and Big Man on Wednesday. Just because it's the international break, we thought there's probably no need for 3 similar looking shows. But Dean and I will be back on Friday. And then obviously the week after, which will be ahead of game week 5, when we're talking about players returning from the break. And there's going to be some injuries, and with injuries, there might be some early transfers or some transfers needed. You never know. One of the big names could get injured. We see it every international break. So by Wednesday, we'll know. Son would have played in St James's Park against who did I say Son was playing against? I can't remember.
Saudi Arabia,
of course. If it's St James's Park, I think they're playing both their games there. Have you watched that documentary yet? Is it the All or Nothing one on Newcastle? I started it the other day.
No, is it good?
It is good, but it's a lot about. It seems a little bit like a kind of walking in the footsteps of Amanda. I can't pronounce the second name. It's a little bit like she's clearly had a lot of the editing, ownership of it. So she's made to look like chief negotiator, like sporting director, like getting involved with all the bidding for Anthony Gordon and the transfers. Like, it was my reason to buy the club. I loved it so much that I put in 10%, me and my husband, it's very pro her. And the other owners are all like, don't get me on camera type thing.
Okay, that's interesting. I think that's how it actually. I think that might be a reflection of literally what it's like life at Newcastle.
And I love seeing Eddie Howe in the dressing room, effing and blinding. You don't necessarily have him down as that type of manager, but
they all are though, because they can't resist it. They're all human, and when they get angry, they can't resist swearing. It's brilliant to hear people swear when you don't normally hear it.
Yeah, I would recommend. So, guys, thank you so much for watching. Dean will be back on Friday. Before we leave, likes and subscribes as always, and we'll see you next time. For now, he's been Dean, I've been Janny, and we've been chasing green arrows.